Hi, I'm Jed Sims, and in this session we're going to look at 5 ways the top value equation equips you to increase the business value of your projects. Now, it may surprise you to learn that most projects miss, lose or destroy more value than they deliver. This massive value loss starts with the poor definition of the project's value equation and business case. This is from research we did as to what happens to the value on projects. And we took the optimum delivery cost and the total available value as 100%, and then looked at some of the major drivers of increased cost in red and value loss in green. And what this shows overall is that over a portfolio of projects, you can be spending 160% of costs to get 40% of the value. So your costs are going up by 60% and your value is going down by 60%. This is what we need to address. And we address it through the value equation. So the value equation defines the business outcomes, O, that need to be delivered. These are the business end states that then deliver the benefits and the financial value. And the financial value is determined by the up-to-date value of the value drivers, bases and assumptions used in their calculation. And at the other end of the value equation are the change activities, the project activities, all the work that has to happen to deliver the outcomes. And the key aspect of a value equation is each element of this equation is clear, specific, and measurable. And what we've shown over 20 years is that this has a dramatic impact on the actual value identified and realized. Now, many project teams struggle to identify and quantify enough benefits to justify their project's cost of delivery. Therefore, to these project teams, the idea that their projects are massively understating their benefits can seem outrageous, but it's too often true because they're not adopting the value equation approach. The key to maximizing your business value is your perspective and the thoroughness of your benefits and value identification process. Shifting your perspective and enabling thoroughness is the role of the top value equation, as we'll now explain. The value equation is specifically designed to increase the targeted value of projects, and the first way it does this is bring a business perspective. Project teams, understandably, view projects from a project perspective. They are endeavouring to identify the benefits the project will deliver. But what the project delivers is not what will drive many of the benefits. It's the business outcomes that will drive the most benefits. But most projects never identify their desired business outcomes. Instead, they identify goals and objectives and possibly capabilities or things they do call outcomes, which are actually benefits. But they don't define in clear, specific, measurable terms the new business as usual end states to be delivered, what we call desired business outcomes. This is not only a glaring gap insofar as many projects' definitions, but also a major contributor to the missing benefits and value. The first step in the value equation is to identify and define the business outcomes desired from the project investment. What do you actually want to achieve in business terms? For most projects, there are between 6 and 16 outcomes to be delivered. Programs obviously have a multiple of that, depending on the number of projects involved. These outcome statements define the primary reason why you're commissioning the project, to achieve the new business end states, and therefore become your primary measure of success. But importantly, these outcomes are business outcomes. They describe new business end states to be delivered, not just the project deliverables. Their business perspective is therefore broader and deeper than the usual project perspective. Compare the following as I read them out. Increase the speed of service invoicing. That's fine, but what exactly does that mean? However, if we say we accurately invoice all service calls within 24 hours of completion, that's very clear, specific and measurable. Increasing the speed of service invoicing is not clear, specific and measurable. Another example. Standardize sales support onto one system. But what exactly, you can measure that you've got it all on one system, but how does that really move you forward? But if you have a 2-month rolling schedule of planned sales calls by salesmen visible to all state and regional sales managers, that's clear, specific and measurable. Do we or don't we have it visible? Is it a 2-month rolling schedule, or is it less than that? Third example. Customer signatures are captured and made available electronically. Yeah, we can sort of see how that's done, but if we say instead, bank tellers are enabled to visibly check on their screen the up-to-date valid signature for the specific account, that's clear, specific or measurable. Can they or can't they? And it's important in this one, we said bank tellers are enabled to visibly check. They weren't required to. It was left to the discretion of the bank teller. And that was an important debate in the development of that particular outcome. Do we force it? Do we enable it? Do we encourage it? What are we actually trying to achieve? And that was a long, heated debate and decided on enable. And that's the sort of thing that happens when you're defining the value equation outcomes. You have to get the words right, and that surfaces issues that otherwise may be assumed differently by different people on the project. You need to start with the end state business perspective. Then you'll find the identification of benefits is much clearer. Now, the second requirement that the value equation meets is the need for a value perspective. In many business cases, the benefits exist to offset the project's cost of delivery. Therefore, once you have enough benefits to cover the project's costs, you stop looking for benefits. This allows all the remaining unidentified benefits to be missed and therefore unlikely ever to be delivered. If you don't know they exist, you will either design them out of the realm of possibility or you won't target them for realization because you don't know they're there. The value equation is value-based and uses the desired business outcome statements that we were just talking about as the source of benefits identification. And it requires that you start by identifying all of the available benefits made possible by the delivery of each desired business outcome in turn. So only after you've identified all of the benefits do you then identify and compute the costs of delivery. Subsequently, you can optimize your project by eliminating high-cost, low-value outcomes, but you are now making these optimization decisions based on the value available, not just on the cost to be justified. So if you do delete aspects of the project, you know what value you are sacrificing as part of that. When you don't do the value equation, you can end up, as one client did, where he deleted one module to save costs, but we then found that 60% of the benefits were delivered by that one module through using the value equation. Obviously, it was reinstated. Then there's a question of thoroughness in relation to benefits identification. How many benefits you identify is determined by how hard you pursue the identification of benefits. Many project teams run a workshop to brainstorm potential benefits, tidy up the results, and finalize the business case. This is just not thorough enough. For each business outcome, the value equation equips you to identify 6 categories of benefits. It asks, what are the customer, competitive, capability, productivity, financial, and risk reduction benefits of delivering each business outcome? Using this approach, each category of benefit is considered in turn so as to increase the focus on the customer benefits. Let's look at those and identify those. Then look at the competitive benefits and so on. Increased focus leads to an increased depth of thought and therefore more identified benefits. But then we have thoroughness too. Then Once the initial list of benefits have been identified, this 6-category benefits identification process is repeated, but this time using the recently identified benefit statements as the basis for identifying benefits. So for each existing benefit statement you ask, what customer, competitive, capability, productivity, financial and risk reduction benefits can this benefit deliver? So you may have a competitive benefit of increased speed to market or something like that. And then you look at that and you say, okay, so what does this do for our customers, our competitiveness, our capability, productivity, financial, and so on? And it's therefore quite often that you will find additional financial benefits that you have not previously identified. As a result, the number and value of benefits identified can go up exponentially, and we'll show you some results in a minute. And the 5th area is engineered thinking. See, the brain is a wonderful instrument, but too often we work against it rather than with it. Engineered thinking, which is built into the value equation, simulates how the brain works. The brain works in pictures, so the value equation seeks to describe the future in descriptive outcome statements so they can be visualized. The brain builds connections, so the value equation asks a series of questions to specifically design to create and extend connections in your brain, so as to go beyond the conscious into the non-conscious mind where your deep knowledge is stored. This brings out new ideas and benefits so that they can be captured. Using the value equation during the outcomes definition process, it's not unusual for the initial objective that we start with to be transformed into a totally different topic, as the oracle and scribe method causes oracles to articulate what they really want. This comes as a result of the brain making connections from that initial objective to new ideas and thoughts, and this is all totally painless to the people involved. But what it achieves is to enable management and staff to think far more deeply and identify their true business outcomes and all of their benefits and value. And that's the key to the value equation, to increase the value identified so it can be targeted and realized. The difference, here quickly run through some examples. In banking, for a project that had no benefits, they could identify no benefits, we found 40 million using the value equation. In a manufacturing plant for a highly technical behind-the-scenes security project, again, they could find no benefits, we found 5.6 million. In a distribution company, they were struggling to find 6 million in benefits, it went up to 72 million. And retail, where they had $35 million in benefits, we stopped counting when we got to 100 million in benefits. All through using the value equation. Because the key thing the value equation does is move you from confusion to clarity. And none of these increases required any increase in delivery costs. These benefits were already there. They just had to be identified, pulled out, and made clear and quantified. The value equation, through its design and thorough engineering thinking, leads to improved results and increased value, as you've just seen. Projects using the value equation have routinely doubled their identified value and then delivered over 90% of this available value, which is far more than the 50% we saw at the beginning. Just compute what that increase from less than 50% to over 90% would be worth to your organization. The top value equation equips you to clarify what you're really trying to achieve in business outcome terms, maximize the number and value of the benefits identified, optimize this value to generate the best bang for the buck, and set you up to fully deliver these outcomes, benefits and value, which is why you commission the project. It really is that simple.